It's time to check out some motherboards. Well, only one motherboard. It's the MSI X99A Tomahawk. And this is sort of a refresh because Intel refreshed their 2011-3 line of CPUs. They came out with some new Xeons as well. And this motherboard will support a lot of those, well, pretty much all of those. So let's go ahead and come on in and do a tour of the board. And while we're walking around the board, I'll tell you all the fancy things that are going on here. All right, so first off, let's start on the socket. We've already had this on the the test bench. We've been playing around with it. Socket 2011-3, and this will work with the new i7s and also the new Xeons. And when you're using the Xeons, you can use ECC memory, buffered or unbuffered, which is kind of cool depending on compatibility. Go ahead and check to make sure that it's compatible before you run out and buy it. You always got to go on. There's dust on this. Oh my God. Now this is a military class 5, so that means that everything's fancy. That's basically what it means. But as you can see, we have these caps on there. Their marketing term is dark caps. They're solid caps with lower ESR and a 10-year lifespan on those. And then over here, we've got titanium chokes that are good at up to 220 Celsius, so that's kind of nice. And this is an 8-phase power design going to your CPU. And it's all digital, of course. That's just how it works. There's EMI protection on pretty much everything. ESD protection on all of the I/O, all over the board. So that's kind of cool as well. And that's really what makes up the military class 5. Also, as you can see, we have sort of a matte black finish on the PCB, and that's on both sides. It's a really nice, non-shiny. Oh, it feels smooth as well. So let's talk about what else is going on up here while we're on the top of the board. Well, you have your memory here on the top. Has something called DDR4 Boost, and that basically isolates the memory circuit. They're just doing everything they can to make things smoother and faster. And this will support up to 128 gigabytes of DDR4, and they say it can run up to 33 megahertz. That's with an overclock, of course. Got your power connector back here in the back for motherboard power. And then we've got some, well, these things are plugged in elsewhere, but moving on around here to the side, got your 24 pin, and then you have your USB 3. We got 2 of those, one here and one here. Now, one thing that's interesting they've done with these USB 3 is right behind here there's a couple little, they're essentially USB boosters, because with some of the bigger cases, if you're building like a monster system, the cabling cannot be too long or it'll lose signal strength. It won't be as fast or won't be as strong. So they've actually boosted the signal that's going to go through here, which is kind of a cool little extra. That's U.2, and that's very exciting to see on a motherboard. 32 gigabits per second. This is Gen 3 by 4. It's just a storage connector if you're not familiar with it, but that's fancy. We have some SATA here, plenty of fancy SATA, fan connector, and then right here we have some more SATA, and this is SATA Express. If you're not going to use SATA Express, those will double as 2 SATA, but then if you're going to use SATA Express, it'll give you an extra boost in speed for the one person out there who's using SATA Express. Right there. All right, let's take a look at all the important stuff going on over here. We've got the BIOS switch and 2 physically soldered BIOS modules for your Uefi right there. You can switch between them, try some different overclocks, and not worry about ruining one. Over here we've got our J-Turbo. Now MSI makes a number of front panel connectors for this. They'll actually let you buy something from them, and then this will give you a turbo button on the outside of your case. If you want one, you can do that. And then we've got your front panel connectors and stuff like that are over here. And then we have some USB, power and reset, which is really handy to have on there. There's your error readout LED, that's JLED. Now you can actually hook up LED strips to this, and then the motherboard can control them, which is cool if you wanted to have full control over the different color schemes and software. Trusted platform module, if you use that. Another fan header. All right, let's look at the audio stuff. This is Audio Boost 3 going on here. We have 8-channel audio, and that's powered by the Realtek underneath there. It's an isolated PCB under this with, this is a shield on top, and you've got the EMI shielding and all that stuff. We've got specific audio capacitors, and we have dual headphone amps in there. So we have an amp port in the back, and that'll support the higher ohm or just harder to drive headphones. And then in software they've got they partner up with Nahimic. Now while we're over here, you want to look at these PCI Express ports, shall we? Now you can notice on the PCI Express ports here we've got 3 of the 16 and then 2 of the 1X slots. No 4X slots or anything like that. You just run a 4X card in here. So these 16X slots are extremely reinforced. As you can see, we have the steel plate on there on these to add rigidity in case you're running a really heavy card. And then behind this, on the other side of the board, they actually do a special type of soldering that really keeps it locked in there. And then we have the double-sided lock there on the back. So there's that. There's your CMOS battery. And then right here, large M.2, and this is Gen 3 by 4 capable of 32 gigabits per second right there. So that's nice and fancy, eh? As far as running SLI, it will support 3-way Crossfire and 3-way SLI. And if you're running a 40-lane CPU, it's going to be 816.8. And if you're running a 28-lane CPU, it'll be 888. So that'll be the 3-way configuration. Let's check out everything on the back. Now here is your 8-channel audio. That's the again the Realtek ALC1150 codec going on right here. Amped output as well. Then we have 2 of the Intel gigabit NICs, and you can use the software to do twin gaming and all LAN. That's their software and all that. Beneath that we have USB 3.1. This is all 3.1 across here, but this is USB 3.1 first gen. And then we have some USB 2 ports. Then we have, see these 2 here? Well, we've got USB 3.1. These are second gen right here. Then we have a Type C there, as well as Type A. So all that's fancy right down there. Then we have a little clear CMOS button right there on the back. And then this is kind of special, they say. So we have it's USB 2, but on the top there we have a gaming port. They call it a gaming port. It's PS2 for your mouse and keyboard. And then they, in the software, you can actually adjust the polling rate of these things to make it more responsive for gaming. So if that's important to you, then you can do that with that. All right, let's take a look at some of the software that comes with this. Now, one thing that's really cool about what MSI has done is they've given us a utility called Live Update 6, and that's usually what I download, because you can go through here and download, all the drivers and the different gaming apps and utilities and all that stuff, or you can grab just this, MSI Live Update program, which is cool, and then it'll go through and it says like, oh, your current version of the management engine, the network drivers, the Intel chipset drivers. It tells you the current version and then says, hey, online, this version's available. And so it's got all that for all of the just standard chipset and all the different features and as media controller or whatever. Then as you scroll down, you've got all of your different MSI programs. So everything's pretty much listed inside this app. So I can say like, oh, I want, my USB speed up or supercharger. I want RAM disk, which RAM disk comes with this motherboard for free now. So you can actually use the RAM as a little hard drive section off a little piece of it if you're not using all of it. And it's about 100 million times faster than an SSD. I'm just making that up, but it's an insane amount faster than an SSD. And you can do that if you've got like 32, 62, 40 gigabytes of RAM and you just want to, have crazy speeds. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the total installer. What an experience. That was actually very awesome. It was kind of like a Nanite experience, if you guys have ever used that before. Everything installed in one package, and then it just said, hey, restart your computer. All the drivers were installed, all the apps were installed, and now we're back in. So let's check out some of the apps. This is, come over a little closer, why don't you? It's very hard to see here, but we're using the gaming app, and now there's an on-screen display, so it'll show you all kinds of different information I've selected to show. Well, I've got my FPS locked at 60 right now, which is silly, but shows your CPU temperature and all that sort of thing. So if you're doing an overclock, very good way to monitor it. All right, so here's that gaming app I was talking about, and here's that on-screen display. Tons of different options there. You can see all sorts of things. All right, here you can control your LEDs and also the additional LEDs you plug onto the motherboard, so motherboard and additional LEDs. Hey, all the different lighting modes. IRS mode is sort of like flux, nice and easy on the eyes. Then we have 3 different modes that we can quickly go to. OC mode is like the fastest mode, then gaming mode somewhere in the middle. Then silent mode is going to keep things nice and quiet and just sort of an underclock. When you do that, it's going to want, well, silent didn't want me to, but when I did OC mode, it wanted me to reboot. Yeah, OC mode, it wants you to reboot. So there's that. Now they've done something interesting here. There's a lot of people out there who really want, full control over their keyboard and their mouse and all that sort of thing, but they don't have, maybe they don't want to run the software. I don't know. Anyway, they have created software called Gaming Hotkey. I just come in and set all kinds of different hotkeys and login keys, smart keys to open up Command Center, gaming app, and live update, just all kinds of stuff like that. So you can turn that on or off. Up to you guys. They've also done sort of the same thing for mice. You can use any mouse now. This will give you control over it. Set up your different buttons, record some macros, basic software, but it'll even let you do DPI adjustments. It does them on a percentile scale instead of a DPI scale, because I'm not sure if it knows exactly what you're using, but hey, it's better than nothing for some people who want software that don't have it. I'm sort of a whatever. So there's that. Let's take a look at the Gaming LAN Manager. It allows you to monitor your performance, see what's using up, hey, this is what's going on, total usage, what application is using it. You can do prioritization. Maybe these applications, you can, hey, let's make Steam very high, very important, and we'll make Skype really low or whatever, because I don't want people calling me while I'm gaming. So, and then you can also, blacklist IPs and do all kinds of things in here. You guys can play around with it if you want to use it. All right, the RAM disk. Now, RAM disk is pretty freaking awesome. It allows you to set up a section of your RAM. So we've got a small RAM disk here, 256 megabytes, and it is way faster than a hard drive. And this is normally something you have to buy, but it comes free with this motherboard. And when you open up My Computer, there's your RAM disk right there. So you can make it bigger if you want. And then last up, here's MSI's command center. You can control everything pretty much. There's the, you go into manual mode and control your fans and set up, like, fan, let's make it kick on here faster or whatever. So you can keep it quiet or you can keep it cool, depending on what you want. Full control over all your cores as far as the frequency goes. There's your multiplier settings. So that's all nice. And you can even, mess with some of the voltages and stuff. Control over your RAM speeds and voltage, everything else. And then game boost. So this one is specifically tuned, it looks like, for the 5960X. So if you've got that CPU and this motherboard together, you can come in here and just easily pick an overclock without having to do much yourself. Sometimes it's better to do it yourself, but this is fast, and some people, time is important. And there's a game boost button actually on the motherboard, the dial. But right now, check this out, it goes all the way up to 11. 11 is 5 gigahertz. Goes to 11. This motherboard goes to 11. I don't know why they didn't just make 10 higher. But hey, it went to 11. So that's some of the software. It comes with even more than that, but some of the software that you can use if you elect to, or you don't have to if you don't want to. All right, we're going to take a really fast look at the Uefi because there's too many options here, and I don't want to make the video 900 minutes long, but this is the Ward 5 Uefi that they've gone with. They're making it very easy. Game boost up here, turn that on and off. That does a little overclock. It disregards the XMP, so if you want to use XMP, which are your different RAM timing profiles, and RAM frequency settings, you can do that 1 or 2 because this RAM has a couple different settings. I'm going to try game boost, see what that does. Motherboard settings, just standard stuff here. You guys have seen this before. Let's take a look quickly at the different stuff we can do here with the OC settings. Wow, I'll just scroll through this. You guys can see here all the different settings that are on the screen. This is not a tutorial at this point. M-Flash allows you to reboot and then flash your Uefi. Over here we have the OC profiler. You save all your different, you can save a bunch of different profiles and that sort of thing. Hardware monitor, you'll see that. We've also have fan controls right here in the Uefi, which is nice for people who don't want to install a lot of hardware. If you just want more of a vanilla installation of Windows, you can do some things right here in the Uefi, which is a lot of times what I do. And then the Board Explorer is kind of cool because it shows you everything that's plugged in here. If you hover over, the shroud here, the Tomahawk shroud, it'll actually show you what's physically plugged in on the back here. So we've got a couple of USB plugged in there. One of the 3.1 Gen 2 is plugged in right there, so that's kind of cool. Hey, what do you know? The CPU's installed. So that's a quick overview of the board. Before you leave, I'm going to go ahead and reboot this because I put on Game Boost, and I want to see what that does, because right now we're at 3.3 gigahertz, that'll turbo a little higher, but let's go ahead and restart it with the Game Boost on and see what it comes to. Alright, OC Genie is enabled. It's recommended not to fuck with the BIOS, it says. Alright, let's see what's going on, y'all. 3.8, not bad for one touch. I like that. Okay, let's let this run for a little bit. So that's not bad. Gaming mode just threw me up to 3.8, and we're running and happy. Temperatures are not too bad. Check it in a minute, and then I think that'll be the end of the freaking video. After we check this. Leave it for like 10. Actually, this Game Boost did a really hell of a good job. I mean, nothing's on fire, barely getting above 50, but it's also thanks to the really powerful Corsair H110i that we're using over there. Still, it's doing a really nice job. Voltages are way low. It seems to be pretty stable. 7 minutes here on Ada 64. 8-9 minutes, so not too bad. Anyway, guys, at the end of the video, if you liked it, do whatever you guys do when you like things. I don't know, a cartwheel and sprain your wrist. Go ahead and click on the store. It's over there. Got some cool new stuff in there for you guys. And let us know what you think on the forums. We'll see you there. Sweet Jesus. Hold your butts. They keep calling it BIOS. Unified Extensive File System. Can you hear the sprouts growing?
Can I DDoS anyone?
You can't DDoS anybody with this thing. This is not made for DDoSing, even though it's a Tomahawk, which could be used to attack, but not DDoS. Ugh.